Bronx Journal. I'm your guest host, Gabriel Contrereas. With warmer weather steadily approaching, it's time we make good on the promise we made to ourselves to do whatever it takes to get into our ideal shape. To help us get to our finish line, we have Fuentes, Morgan Kelley, and Sandy Little, 3 personal trainers who are the best at what they do, and what they do is help you get to your goal. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I feel as if it's like a new trend. Like nowadays, like you see more people at the gym wanting to get in shape. Like, why do you think that is? Like 5 years back, 10 years back, you didn't see this many people at the gym or with this enthusiasm to get into shape. Is there a certain reason for that, or what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think, I'll take that first one. I think that for the most part, American people, people all over, we're very aesthetic conscious. Everyone wants to look good, everyone wants to feel good, everyone wants to do good. And then I think also with the cost of healthcare, a lot of insurance companies are giving people different incentives to go to the gym in regards to making sure that they don't come in sick, call out sick, and have to, incur different expenses in regards to taking care of them. So those are 2 things that I think play a major role.
Yeah, I kind of was going to add into that too. As a matter of fact, I just got a client that he just applied for the life insurance, and he basically had to go for the physical first. So depending on how healthy he was, and that was going to be the adequate amount of money that he was going to get. So then he called up with me. He wants to get fit. So basically, I put him on a nice program for about 3, 4, 7 weeks. So he went back for another physical, and everything came out perfect. So based on that, then he actually, he's able to earn more money.
Okay, cool. And speaking of like getting a physical, do you think that does one need to get a physical first prior to coming to you guys or coming to exercise? Or like, what do you say like to someone that is new to exercise that wants to get in there?
Depends. A lot of that depends on you ask them if they are older person or younger person. If they're an older person, you basically ask them if they been to the doctor, did he recommend them for any kind of activities, or any kind of, high blood pressure or diabetes or something like that. If the older person, you usually ask them something like that, and ask them if they seen a doctor, did he recommend them to come and do any kind of exercise and so on and so forth. So a lot of that goes with that too. You ask them if they're young, then you ask them, basically if you got any little problems. If they don't, so you could basically deal with a younger person with taking them straight in to the older person. You would ask them that if they see the doctor, if they got any kind of illness, did he recommend for them to come to the gym or so on and so forth of that nature.
Okay. And then while you're once you get started, how do you know that you're doing something right? Are you supposed to feel like a burn in your muscle? Supposed to feel like tenderness, fatigue? What exactly is what one is looking for when they're doing something properly?
Okay, well, the first thing you look for is the motion. See, exercise can be conducted in different planes of motion, right? So, the first thing you look for is actually when you first get a client, you got to do an assessment. That's what I usually do. You got to do an assessment, so just so you see his flexibility, his locomotion, his level of mobility. You understand? Based on the flexibility of the person that you're going to train, then you can have an idea, exactly on the discomfort that the person has. You see what I'm saying? So it allows you to work on different body parts, on weak muscles, you see? So that way you could target, so that way you could just kind of emphasize on the not just on the locomotion of the person, but as far as for them to maintain the right posture. Because that's exactly where it starts. When the person maintains the proper adequate form, then they could perform the activity easier, better. It makes it easier for them. So then as you watch the person demonstrating the movement, if they're doing the movement in the right planes of motion, then that's how you know that results are going to come into place. So, you want to add anything more?
Yeah, ultimately what he's saying is, add on to that, whatever, is that you give a person an assessment, and based on the way they're situated, you'll know what is going to be ideal for them or what's going to be detrimental to them. Because you may have a person that comes in, they might have a problem with the knee or the shoulder, herniated disc in the back, okay? So what happens here now is then we know that we have to strengthen up the abs, loosen up the back, whatever the case might be, but it's going to vary from Gabriel to Little to Morgan to Luis. So what might be good for one might be bad for the other. So first you do the assessment, you make sure that the kinetic chain is in order, the line up, the motion and mobility and stability of each joint and everything like that, and then you go from that point forward. Not to make it sound really complicated, but the human body doesn't come with an owner's manual like a car does. You can't like look into your shirt pocket and say, okay, this is what I need to do. There's not a light that comes on when something's wrong. So you need to have that assessment, and you need to have someone that can work with you and work through these things, identify these different things, and get you to where you're trying to be. So that's what it is.
Okay. And safety is a real key issue when you're working out or doing any type of motion. What if you're doing everything the exact way, the right way you're supposed to do it, you know, nothing's too heavy, nothing's too light for you, but then you feel a pain, not necessarily in your muscle, but in your joints? Like, how do you, what would you say to that? Like, someone has a pain in their wrist after doing like bicep curls or something, I don't know. What would you guys say?
I would be concerned once again with the assessment, you know, because a person, there's different forms of arthritis, you know. And what happens here is this: you might have a person who does a lot of typing, that's sitting at the computer all the time. That plays a role. You might have a person who does carpentry, so they're working with a hammer. So all of these different things will play a role in regards to what their normal daily activities are. So now when they take on these different exercises, it's going to compound whatever strain or stresses they already have. Most people, when they come to the gym, are deconditioned, you know, and they will incur injuries as a result of starting to exercise and taking on different stresses too soon. So the first thing I would be concerned about is, you know, the condition of the person overall, and if they're having joint pain, then I'd have to be concerned as to whether or not it was arthritis, you know, unless they've had some type of injury that they didn't like fully recover from, didn't heal up all the way. But normally that's what, you know, that's
which
what
is exactly which is exactly why at the beginning, right, the way you started, that's exactly why you kind of want to get a medical history of the person, so that way you could just follow up, you could just backtrack on that. You know, if the person has, you know, knee problems, you know, back problems, you know, herniated disc, you know, bulging disc. So that's exactly why when you first get, you know, when you first get a potential client, you kind of want to make sure that you get a background medical history from the person. So that way, that's how you play it safe. You understand? That's the best way. That's the best way.
And something you mentioned about like compound, you know, doing exercise that works out compound muscles. What do you think it's the best exercise or some good exercises to do that can hit like multiple body parts at the same time?
Well, I'll speak on that. To hit multi-joints, all right, it's like doing deadlifts, all right? Deadlift is, you know, you're hitting multi-muscles, all right? You into the shoulders, you into the lower back, you into the triceps, you into the stomach. It's a multi-exercises that hits that many body parts. The deadlift, you know, and that's like a hallmark exercise, you know. It hits so many muscles at the same time where you're gonna have to do too many exercises when you do that one. You know, so I would say the deadlift is one of the main, if not the main, exercise for that.
Okay. And reaching our goals, it doesn't necessarily start and end at the gym. Like, obviously, the activities that we do outside or how we live our life outside of that kind of affects it. Like, what would you guys recommend to people to do outside of the gym? Not just come in here and, you know, give you 100%, but also when they leave, they need to do other things to follow up with as well. What would you guys recommend?
Learn how to eat right.
Yeah.
Nutrition is 70% of the game. So that's what I would be most concerned about with anyone I was training, working with. Yeah.
Okay, eating right. Well, what would you say is like a food that the general public should include into their eating habits, and one food that they should actually take out of their eating habits? If you could just pinpoint out one.
In general, just throw one food out there?
Yeah, just one. That is most effective, that people could get the most out of.
I'd go, well, it's going to be kind of general. I'd go easy with the white starches, the white carbohydrates, the white bread, the white rice, that sort of stuff. I'd go easy with that, with the milk, you know, with those sort of things, those types of sugars, those simple sugars.
Simple sugars, yep.
Yep, I'd go with that. If it was just one thing, that encompasses a whole lot, right? But
that's something people should bring in or take out?
Take out.
Take out. And what should they supplement that with?
Green leafy vegetables would be great. Kale, spinach, stuff like that. Lean cuts of white meat, fish, those things are really good.
Okay. And what would you guys recommend for like a pre or a post-workout meal?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to gain mass.
Well, let's give an example for both. Like, let's just say someone that's trying to slim down. What would you guys say that it's a good pre or post-workout meal?
Well, if you're trying to slim down, I'm gonna leave it after this one. If you're trying to slim down, you want to come in early in the morning, if you can. work out on an empty stomach, and then have a reasonable breakfast, maybe some oatmeal, some fruit, some stuff like that. You know, if you're trying to lose weight, because what happens is, you know, the body goes through different phases and it has different energy systems. So if you're trying to lose weight, you don't want to give yourself so many calories that it has to burn off to get back to neutral. Now, if you're trying to gain weight, it'd be better, or you know, or trying to bulk up to work out later in the day, so you have more insulin, like more glucose, more sugars, you know, more fuel in your body.
Stored in the liver, that's right, yeah.
So that's what it is. Early in the day, really light, pretty much empty. Later in the day, kind of full, go kind of hard.
Okay. And okay, so those are some pretty good things to do pre or post workout, right? What about supplements? People ask you about supplements. What would you guys say to that? Again, for both types of someone that wants to slim down and someone that wants to bulk up.
Me, myself, what I would recommend is basically what's needed as a multivitamin. First and foremost, always introduce that, all right? Because you need those multivitamins, because you need all the accessories that come out of them, all right? So right off the top, you know, I would say to somebody else, see if they, you know, taking a multivitamin, all right? A woman, a man, you know, some women might like the Mega Woman vitamins for a multivitamin, you know, because it produces a lot of things that the woman body has lost, has taken in. So I will always recommend a multivitamin.
Okay.
All right. Before anything, I would recommend a multivitamin before you introduce diet pills or anything. I would actually recommend a multivitamin for myself. I will.
And we've touched on both people that want to slim down as well as bulk up. So you guys have prepared with us certain movements or certain exercises that we can do to show people exactly what to do to get to their goal, correct?
Sure, yeah.
Sure.